And in terms of culture in India versus US, because you've worked in Advent, BCG, etc., a lot of companies in India, you're working in the US right now since the last 4 years. What are some of the cultural differences you've noticed while working in India versus while working in US in terms of both professional as well as, let's say, personal when you meet people here?
Right. Yeah, I think in India, I think in India, the big difference that decides about how your work-life balance is going to be and the work culture is, do you work for an MNC or do you work for a domestic Indian firm? I think foreign companies have a much better culture. They have established HR practices and stuff like that. So I think HR and things and like better policies versus if you work for a domestic company in India, their policies aren't as developed. Their processes aren't as developed. So I think that really defines your experience, I think. And I've worked for both kinds of companies in India. But compared, like India versus here, I think you have a much better work-life balance in the US. I think it's just people have that understanding that you, like, work isn't your everything, and that you need to have some personal life. Again, depends on what industry you're working in, and like if there's work, there's work. But like typically weekends, you do get your time. Like I remember in India, I would work most weekends. I would say like 70-80% of my weekends I've worked. And when I say work, like really work, versus here, it's not that bad. But if, like, for example, if you're in PE and you're working on a deal, then yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, and that's fine. But there's no busy work. Like in India, quite often you just sit in the office, even if you don't have work, because the culture is that if you leave early or if you leave before your boss, they will look down upon you, or like it's looked at negatively, which again, I haven't seen much in the US. Like insofar as you get your work done, nobody really bothers. And maybe I'm talking from only my personal subjective experience, but that's probably the other big thing here.
You know what I've realized, like I went to a lot of offices here, even like let's say Bloomberg, YouTube, Google, Meta. I visited a lot of offices, and I realized I think here there's a lot of open-minded culture in the sense that like it's not that you have to stick to, let's say, a particular timeline. As far as you're getting the work done, you are flexible to do whatever you want, especially in the tech companies. When I visited YouTube, Meta, Google offices, a lot of people showed me the offices around. They took an entire day, like they were like, okay, we are done for the week now. Today is a Friday. And as it is, like my work was done. So I was just chilling in the office, and they showed me the entire office around. And they were like, since the work is done, no one is going to tell you to work for longer hours, or they're not going to say that, okay, you have to work every single day. So I found like a very open-minded culture that kaam kar lo aap aapka, and then if you're done with your work, then you can just choose to do whatever you want as far as the work is being done. And whenever I used to roam around the offices also, I found a very, I don't know, but very like collaborative environment, in the sense that people are like, let's say some people are working. There are like a lot of different kinds of lounge areas, different kind of pods, working pods, where people are working, doing their calls, meetings, etc. Maybe these were like Google, YouTube, all these Meta, these companies.
I think tech companies in general have a bit more open cultures for sure. I don't think it translates the same way to all industries, especially finance. But I think the general gist of what you said holds. It's less toxic. There's less office politics. People, there's no less micromanagement. Again, we are trying to generalize things, so that need not always hold true for all examples. But I think in general, I think it still holds true.
Yeah. And plus, I feel that, like you rightly said, like in India, let's say if you leave before your boss, it's kind of looked down, etc. Here, I think bunch of work is done. Like I know a lot of my friends who like left, like leaving at 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m. They're done for the day. And that is very normal, very chill.
That is true. But I think people here also start earlier. Like quite often people start at like 7:30, 8:30, because they want to get work done early so that they have their evenings to themselves. So if you start at like 7:38, you get done by 5, 6. You still have, you can go home, have dinner with your family or friends. So you have that. You can go to the gym. So you have that free time in the evening as well.
And in US, you've not worked on any weekend? Like
No. I have worked on weekends. No. I have worked on a lot of weekends.
But like lesser as compared to India.
Yes.
If it's
Okay,
70,
but it also just could be a function of the job and the role. But yeah, because I've heard a lot from a lot of my banking friends in the US that they work on a lot of weekends.
Oh, okay. And but let's say for someone who's working in VC or let's say private equity, at least in sorry, at least people are working in SF. I've realized like a lot of my friends who are working in VCs, they don't usually work on weekends unless it's very urgent. In tech, again, strictly, I've asked them, like strictly, they don't work on weekends at all. Google, YouTube, Meta, like not a single weekend, I think these people would work. My friend who's staying here, he works at Uniqlo. In the last 5 years, he said that he's not worked on any weekend as such. But I don't know about like in finance, in P's.
Yeah, maybe I should move to tech.
No, but then I mean, that's the thing which I heard by just talking to people.
No, I think fairly true. Like, yeah, I mean, if there's an urgent deadline or whatever, you have to work, right? Like you have to step up. But otherwise, there's no busy work. Like you don't have to just be online just so that your boss can see that you're working.